The research station sat alone on the moon, far away from everything. Dr. Yoon-ji had been living there for 3 years without many visitors. She was a scientist who studied strange creatures that lived in places where nothing should survive. The moon was perfect for her work because it was empty and quiet. Nobody wanted to come to this cold, dark place except her. Yoon-ji was 34 years old. She had brown eyes and black hair that she always tied back when she worked. Her hands were small but strong from years of holding equipment and collecting samples from dangerous places. She loved her work more than anything else in the world. Her brother Tayo once told her that she loved her creatures more than she loved people. Yoon-ji never disagreed with him. One day, everything changed. Yoon-ji was walking through the crystal caves below her station. These caves were her favorite place on the moon. The walls sparkled with blue and purple crystals that grew from the ground like strange flowers. The caves were cold, but Yoon-ji didn't mind. She wore a thick suit and carried lights that showed her the way. She was looking for small creatures to study when she heard a sound that made her stop. It was a sound like nothing she had ever heard before. It was deep and sad, like a whale singing, but bigger, sadder, and more lonely. Yoon-ji followed the sound deeper into the caves. Her heart was beating fast. She did not know what was making this noise, but something inside her told her that something was hurt and needed help. When she turned a corner, Yoon-ji saw it. At first, she could not believe what she was seeing. The creature was so big that it filled the entire cave. Its body was dark blue and black, with scales that looked like polished metal. It had 4 arms, each one ending in sharp claws. Its head was wide and flat, with eyes like yellow moons. Yoon-ji knew immediately what this was. It was a Void Sovereign, one of the most dangerous creatures in the entire galaxy. The Void Sovereign was supposed to hunt and kill anything in its path. It was supposed to be a monster that destroyed whole civilizations. Every human child learned about them in school. The teachers said that if you ever saw one, you should run and never look back. They said that Void Sovereigns had no feelings and no mercy. But this one was hurt. The creature's left side was badly damaged. Large pieces of its scales were missing, and underneath there were marks that looked like burns. One of its 4 arms hung uselessly at its side. The creature's breathing was slow and weak. It was dying, and it knew it. Yoon-ji should have been afraid. She should have run away and called for help. That was what any smart person would do. But Yoon-ji was not a normal person. She was a scientist, and she was kind. She looked at the suffering creature and did not see a monster. She saw a living being in pain. She stepped closer slowly. The creature's yellow eyes turned toward her. Yoon-ji could see that it was watching her, waiting to see what she would do. She raised her hands in the air to show that she was not holding any weapons. Then, in her soft voice, she spoke to the creature even though she knew it could not understand her words. "I am not going to hurt you," she said. "I can help you, let me help you." The creature made a low, sad sound. It did not attack Yoon-ji. It did not try to hurt her. It just watched her with its big yellow eyes. Yoon-ji knew she had to act fast. The creature was weak and wounded. If she did not help it soon, it would die here in the cold cave. She ran back to her station as fast as she could. She collected food from her storage room. She had dried meat, fresh fruits, and water. Her hands were shaking as she packed everything into a bag. She knew that helping this creature was dangerous. She knew that the government would be angry if they found out. But she could not leave a living being to die alone in the dark. Yoon-ji went back to the cave and left the food for the creature. She came back the next day and the day after that. Each time the food was gone, the creature was eating, the creature was surviving. Slowly, the wounds on its body began to heal. Yoon-ji studied the creature from a safe distance, taking notes and pictures. She learned that it could move a little more each day. She learned that it made sounds that seemed like language, deep and powerful sounds that echoed through the caves. 3 weeks passed. Yoon-ji had been feeding the Void Sovereign every single day. Her station's food supplies were running low, but she did not care. The creature was getting stronger. She had even given it a name. She called it Kiran, which meant sunrise in her home language. It seemed like a good name for something that was supposed to be dark and dangerous but was showing her something else. Then one day, ships appeared in the sky above the moon. Yunji was eating breakfast when she saw them on her station screens. There were 5 large ships, much bigger than any that had visited before. She used her computer to find out who they were. Her heart sank. They were bounty hunters. According to the messages she found, someone had reported a void sovereign on this moon, and now hunters from all across the galaxy were coming to catch it or kill it. They wanted to find Kieran. Yunji looked out the window at the ships getting closer. She thought about Kieran in the caves below, still healing, still getting stronger but still weak. The hunters would find the creature and take it. Maybe they would kill it. Maybe they would capture it and use it for something terrible. Yunji could not let that happen. She grabbed her suit and ran to the caves. This time she was not going down there to study or to help the creature heal. She was going down there because she had made a choice. She was going to protect Kieran. Whatever happened next, whatever price she would have to pay, she was going to stand beside this creature that everyone else called a monster. Yunji ran down into the darkness, her light cutting through the shadows. Behind her, on the surface of the moon, the first hunter ships were starting to land. The sky was filling with smoke and fire as the hunt began. But Yunji did not stop. She ran faster, deeper toward Kieran, toward the blue and purple crystals, toward whatever future was waiting for her in the dark. In the caves below, Kieran heard the sounds of the ships landing. The creature stood up on its strong legs and looked toward the way the sounds were coming from. Its yellow eyes grew brighter, and it released a long, deep sound that traveled through the caves like thunder. Kieran remembered other hunters, other creatures that had tried to hurt it, but this time was different. This time, it was not alone. This time, there was Yunji. The creature began to move toward the entrance of the caves to protect the small human that had shown it kindness when the whole galaxy had shown it nothing but fear. The first battle did not go the way the hunters expected. When they reached the research station, they found no creature and no scientist to question. Yunji had sealed the station doors and moved everything important to the caves. The hunters searched the building but found only empty rooms and laboratories. They were angry and confused. They knew the Void Sovereign was here. Their instruments told them it was close. But where? The answer came when the creature attacked. Kieran did not want to hurt the hunters. Kieran did not even want to fight. But Kieran understood now that Yunji was in danger. The creature came out of the caves like a storm, moving faster than anything so large should be able to move. The hunters tried to capture it with their weapons. They shot energy blasts that bounced off Kieran's strong scales. They threw nets that the creature broke with its powerful arms. But most important, Kieran did not kill anyone. The creature could have destroyed every hunter in seconds. Instead, it threw them away and made them leave. Within hours, the hunters were gone. They sailed back into the dark sky, running away from something they did not understand. They had been paid to catch or kill a dangerous monster. What they found instead was a creature that was strong enough to destroy them all but chose not to. Teo received a message that his sister's research station had been attacked. He was 8 days away with his salvage ship, the Hana's Hope, and a crew of 5 people. Teo was Yunji's older brother, and he had always worried about her living alone on this moon. He was 40 years old and had the same dark eyes as his sister. But where Yunji was gentle, Teo was strong and quick to act. He loved his sister even though they did not always understand each other. When Teo heard the news, he did not ask questions. He pointed his ship toward the moon and flew as fast as he could. His crew wanted to know what they would find, but Teo just kept looking at the stars, pushing his ship faster and faster. He was afraid. He had always been afraid that one day his sister would go too far with her dangerous science, and that he would not be there to help her. The ship landed 2 days after the hunters left. Teo and his crew found the station locked and empty. Then Teo received a message from his sister. Yunji's voice came through the communication system, calm and serious. She told him that she was safe. She told him that she had not been hurt. But she also told him something that made his blood turn cold. She had been protecting a Void Sovereign. Not from the hunters. From the whole galaxy. Teo wanted to be angry, but he could not be. He knew his sister too well. Yunji never lied. If she said she was protecting a creature, then that is what she was doing. And if Yunji was doing something dangerous, it meant that she believed it was right. He went down into the caves with supplies and medical equipment. His sister was waiting for him at the entrance, her suit dirty and her face tired but her eyes bright with purpose. Behind her stood the Void Sovereign. Teo had never seen such a creature before. It was bigger than anything he had ever imagined. He thought about how easily it could kill him. He thought about all the stories he had heard about these monsters. Then he saw it look at Yunji. The creature looked at his sister the way a family member looks at family. There was care in those yellow eyes. There was protection. There was love. Teo suddenly understood why Yunji had done all of this. This was not a monster. This was a being that had been alone and hurt, and his sister had saved it. "This is Kieran," Yunji said. "I have been taking care of him." "I can see that," Teo said. Over the next weeks, Teo helped his sister heal Kieran's wounds. He brought food and water and medicine. He watched as the creature grew stronger day by day. He also watched as something beautiful happened between his sister and the creature. They began to understand each other without words. When Yunji was sad, Kieran would come and sit beside her. When the creature made sounds, Yunji would respond, trying to learn its language. A bond was forming, something that no one had ever seen before. A young woman named Kyuri worked on Teo's ship as a communications officer. She was 28 years old and very smart. When Teo told his crew about Kieran, Kyuri became interested. She spent time talking to Yunji and learning about the creature. She watched video recordings that Yunji had made. She read scientific papers about void sovereigns. And slowly Kyuri began to understand what was happening. She came to Teo one day and said something that surprised him. "Your sister is right," Kyuri said. "This creature is intelligent. This creature has feelings. The galaxy needs to know about this." But telling the galaxy was dangerous. The government would want to study Kieran, maybe capture it, maybe destroy it. Corporations would want to use it as a weapon. Fear would win over understanding. Yunji knew this, so she decided to do something bold. She decided to keep detailed records of everything. She took videos of Kieran solving problems, making decisions, protecting her. She recorded its sounds and studied them to find patterns that might be language. She wrote down everything she observed. She was building proof. One day, Teo asked his sister why she was doing all of this. "Because the whole galaxy has it wrong," Yunji said. "They think void sovereigns are monsters because they are afraid. But what if they are just misunderstood? What if all this creature needs is kindness?" Teo looked at his sister and then at Kieran, who was watching them both with those intelligent yellow eyes. He realized that his sister was trying to do something impossible. She was trying to change how the entire galaxy thought about a whole species of creatures. She was trying to prove that compassion was stronger than fear. "What happens if the government finds out?" Teo asked. "Then we will make them listen," Yunji said. Her voice was quiet, but it was firm. She meant every word. Kieran made a low sound like it understood. The creature moved closer to Yunji and wrapped one of its strong arms gently around her. Teo saw this and knew that something very important was happening. His sister was not alone anymore. She had found family in a creature that everyone else called a monster, and that creature had found family in a human who saw past the fear. Outside the caves, on the surface of the moon, the stars began to come out. The galaxy was vast and full of beings who had forgotten how to understand each other, but down here in the darkness and the crystal caves, two different creatures were learning how to love each other. It was a small thing, maybe too small to matter to the whole galaxy. But Yunji and Teo knew that it was the beginning of something big. The beginning of a change that would reach across all the stars. The message from the Galactic Scientific Council came on a cold morning. Yunji received it while she was in her laboratory, studying Kieran's blood samples under a powerful microscope. The message said that she had been requested to come to the council and present her findings about the void sovereign species. They wanted to know everything she had learned. Yunji's hands began to shake. This was the moment she had been preparing for. This was her chance to tell the whole galaxy the truth about Kieran. But she was also very afraid. She did not know if they would listen. She did not know if they would believe her. She knew that many powerful people wanted to use Kieran for their own purposes. She told Teo about the invitation. Her brother was quiet for a long time. "This is dangerous," he finally said. "Once you tell them about Kieran, they will never leave us alone." "I know," Yunji said. "But what choice do I have? People need to understand. They need to know that void sovereigns are not monsters." Teo put his hand on his sister's shoulder. "Then we will do this together, and we will make them listen." The presentation took place in the Great Hall of the Galactic Council. It was a place where the most important decisions about the galaxy were made. Hundreds of aliens from different species sat in the audience. They had blue skin and green skin and skin that looked like metal. Some had many eyes. Some had no eyes at all. They were all watching Yunji, waiting to see what she had to say. Yunji stood in front of the entire galaxy and began to speak. She showed videos of Kieran moving through the caves, solving problems. She showed pictures of the creature's brain, which was large and complex like a human brain. She played recordings of the sounds Kieran made, sounds that had patterns and structure, sounds that could be language. She told the story of finding the creature hurt and alone, and how it had learned to trust her. She talked about how intelligent void sovereigns were, how they could feel pain and sadness and love. "This creature is not a monster," Yunji said, her voice strong and clear. "This creature is a person, just like you, just like me. We have been wrong about them for thousands of years. We have hunted them. We have been afraid of them. But all they wanted was to be understood." Many of the council members listened carefully. Some of them looked interested. Some of them looked doubtful. But then a man named Minister Daejung stood up. He was a tall, powerful man with gray in his black hair. His face was angry. "This is nonsense," he said loudly. "One creature may be different from the others, may be broken. But the whole species of void sovereigns has destroyed entire worlds. We cannot trust them. We cannot let them live." "You are wrong," Yunji said. "We destroyed them. They were defending themselves against creatures who hunted them with weapons and fear." The council began to argue. Voices rose. Some council members agreed with Yunji. Some agreed with Minister Daejung. It was like a storm, with the future of an entire species hanging in the balance. Then Minister Daejung made a decision. He did not want to wait for the council to vote. He wanted to act now. He sent soldiers to the moon where Yunji's station was located. He wanted to capture Kieran alive and bring the creature back to his research facility. He wanted to study it. He wanted to find its weaknesses. He wanted to turn it into a weapon. Teo was still on the moon with Curie and their crew. They saw the soldiers arriving on transport ships. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. The soldiers came down into the caves with weapons and equipment designed to capture large creatures. Curie called Yunji on the communication system. She told her about the soldiers. She told her they were coming for Kieran. Yunji told Teo, "Protect the creature. I am coming home." When the soldiers attacked, they did not expect what would happen. Kieran fought, but not like a monster. The creature could have used its terrible power to destroy everything. Instead, Kieran moved soldiers out of the way. The creature threw weapons into the water. When soldiers tried to capture it with energy nets, Kieran broke the nets but did not hurt the people inside them. The creature was choosing to use only enough force to survive, not to kill. The soldiers kept attacking anyway. Teo fought beside Kieran. He was human and smaller and weaker, but he had courage. He blocked attacks meant for the creature. He used his own weapons to knock down soldier equipment. Curie controlled the station systems and turned off the lights, making it harder for the soldiers to see. Together, the humans and the Void Sovereign fought as a team. During the fight, something happened that changed everything. One of the soldiers tried to hurt Yunji. Teo saw it and ran toward his sister. But Kieran saw it first. The creature moved with impossible speed. The creature put its body between Yunji and the soldier. A weapon that would have hit Yunji hit Kieran instead. The creature made a sound of pain, a sound that mixed sadness and protection and love all into one moment. Everyone stopped fighting and looked at this creature that had been shot while protecting a human. A camera was recording. Curie had turned on the station's broadcasting system. The entire galaxy was watching. They were watching this moment when a Void Sovereign, the creature they had hunted for thousands of years, chose to save a human's life. They were watching an apex predator show more mercy than the soldiers showed it. The soldiers retreated. They did not have orders to retreat, but they could not continue fighting. Not after seeing that. News of the battle spread across all the stars. Humans and aliens watched the video again and again. They saw Kieran protecting Yunji. They saw the creature choosing mercy over violence. They saw that everything they had believed about Void Sovereigns was wrong. Ambassador Hae-won was a powerful political leader. She had listened to Yunji's presentation. When she saw the video of Kieran protecting the scientist, she made a decision. She used all her power and influence to bring the matter back to the council. This time, the vote was very different. This time, most of the council members voted to protect Void Sovereigns. They voted to give the creatures rights. They voted to recognize that Void Sovereigns were intelligent beings who deserved to live. Minister Daejung was very angry, but he could not do anything. The council had spoken. The law was now the law. Yoonji sat in her station holding Kieran's hand while Taeo helped heal the creature's wound. The weapon had hurt the creature, but not seriously. Kieran would recover, and now finally, the rest of the galaxy would understand what Yoonji had always known. Void Sovereigns were not monsters. They were beings with hearts and minds. They were beings capable of love. Kieran made a soft sound, not painful but peaceful. The creature looked at Yoonji with those yellow eyes, and Yoonji knew that what she and this creature had started together would change the galaxy forever. Even though the council had voted to protect Void Sovereigns, not everyone was happy about it. Minister Daejung and his followers still wanted to destroy Kieran. They said that one good action did not prove that the whole species was safe. They said that Void Sovereigns were still dangerous and should be kept in locked facilities far away from other beings. But the worst opposition came from a secret group. They called themselves the Preservation Alliance. They believed that the presence of Void Sovereigns threatened the peace of the galaxy. They believed that as long as Kieran lived, other humans and aliens would die. They wanted to destroy the creature and Yoonji's research station before anyone could protect it further. Yoonji learned about their plan when she received an anonymous message. The message said that bombs would be placed around her station in 3 days. The bombs would destroy everything. Yoonji's hands shook as she read the words. She told Taeo immediately. Her brother's face became serious and hard. He looked at his sister and then at Kieran, who was still healing from his recent wound. He did not have to say anything. They both understood. This was about to become a real fight. We need to run, Taeo said. We can take Kieran into the deep caves. We can hide until they give up. But Yoonji shook her head. No, running means they win. Running means they can hunt Kieran forever. We have to stay and fight. We have to show the galaxy that we will not give up. That Kieran's life is worth protecting. Taeo did not like this plan. It was dangerous. It could mean death. But he understood his sister. She had never run away from what was right before. She would not start now. Yoonji contacted Councillor Insu, a friendly political leader who had voted to protect Void Sovereigns. She told him everything. She told him about the bombs. She told him about the Preservation Alliance. She told him that she and Kieran were going to stand their ground. Councillor Insu listened to every word. Then he made a decision that surprised Yoonji. He arranged for cameras and news reporters to come to the research station. He told Yoonji to let the whole galaxy watch what would happen. He said that if the Preservation Alliance destroyed the station, the entire galaxy would see it. There would be no hiding it. The truth would become impossible to ignore. Curie worked with the communications equipment to broadcast everything. She set up cameras in the caves and around the station. Soon millions of beings across the galaxy were watching. They watched Yoonji preparing for battle. They watched Kieran getting stronger every day. They watched Taeo organizing the station's defenses with his crew. They watched Dr. Raoul, Enji's old teacher, arrive on a medical ship and choose to stay and help. Dr. Raoul was a wise man in his 55th year. He had taught Yoonji when she was young and first learning to be a scientist. He had told her to follow her heart, to study what fascinated her, to never stop asking questions. When he learned about Kieran and Yoonji's situation, he knew he had to come. He knew he had to stand beside his student. I taught you to believe in science, Dr. Raoul told Yoonji, and science says that Void Sovereigns are intelligent beings. If I did not come to support you, then I would be betraying everything I taught you. The day before the bombs were supposed to arrive, Yoonji made a choice. She walked down into the caves where Kieran was resting. The creature was healing well now. Its wounds were almost closed. Its strength was returning. Yoonji sat down beside the creature and she spoke to it. Tomorrow people will come to try to hurt us, she said. I do not know what will happen. I do not know if we will survive. But I want you to know that I chose this. I chose to stand with you. Not because you are powerful. Not because I am afraid of you. But because you are worth saving. Because you deserve to live. Kieran made a sound that seemed like understanding. The creature wrapped one of its large arms around Yoonji, holding her close. In that moment, human and creature sat together in the darkness, waiting for what would come. The Preservation Alliance sent their ships in the middle of the night. But they did not find darkness and silence. They found light and thousands of witnesses. Cameras captured every moment. When the bombs began falling, the whole galaxy watched. When Kieran emerged from the caves to protect the station, everyone saw. When the creature shielded Yunji and Teo from explosions, every being watching understood. The Void Sovereign did not destroy the invaders. Kieran did not use its terrible power to hurt them. Instead, the creature pushed the ships away from the station. Kieran threw bombs into the space where they could not hurt anyone. The creature protected what it loved, using only enough force to survive. The Preservation Alliance's ships tried to fight back, but they could not win. They were fighting a creature that could have destroyed them easily, but was choosing not to. Eventually, they retreated into space, leaving behind a story that no one in the galaxy would ever forget. When the fighting stopped, Yunji ran to Kieran. The creature was hurt again, but not badly. Blood seeped from several new wounds, but nothing that would not heal. Kieran looked at Yunji with those yellow eyes, and the creature made a soft, peaceful sound. Teo stood beside his sister. Tears ran down his face. His crew was safe. His station was mostly okay, and his sister had done what she said she would do. She had made the whole galaxy believe in something they had never believed in before. That night, the council called an emergency meeting. They watched the broadcast of the battle. They saw everything, and they voted again. This time, the vote was almost completely in favor of protecting Void Sovereigns. Only Minister Daejong and a few followers voted against it. The rest understood. They understood that this creature, this being that could have ended them all, had chosen compassion instead. Counselor In-Su stood up in the council chamber and made an announcement. He declared that Void Sovereigns were now protected beings, with all the rights that came with that status. He declared that Yunji's research station would be expanded into an institute for interspecies coexistence. He declared that the galaxy would no longer hunt these creatures. Instead, they would learn from them. Dr. Raoul put his hand on Yunji's shoulder. "You did it," he said. "You changed the galaxy." Yunji looked at Kieran, who was resting peacefully now. She smiled and said, "We did it together." 3 years after the final battle, Yunji's research station had been transformed into something beautiful. The institute now had many buildings, laboratories, and safe spaces for creatures. Forests had been planted in specially made habitats. Water systems flowed like natural rivers. The Institute for Interspecies Coexistence was now one of the most important places in the entire galaxy. Yunji was still the leader of the institute. She was now 37 years old, and her face showed the work she had done and the worry she had carried. But her eyes were bright with purpose. Every day she woke up knowing that she was doing something that mattered. Kieran had completely healed from all its wounds. The creature was now bigger and stronger than ever before, but the creature never left the institute. Kieran did not need to leave. Everything the creature loved was here. Yunji was here. Teo was here. The other Void Sovereigns who had been rescued from across the galaxy were here. Over the 3 years, they had found 17 other Void Sovereigns. Some had been captured by hunters and needed to be rescued. Some had been hiding in remote places, scared and alone. Some had been hurt, just like Kieran had been hurt. But one by one, they were brought to the Institute. One by one, they healed. And one by one, they learned that they were not alone anymore. Kieran had become like a parent to the younger Void Sovereigns. The creature would hunt food for them and teach them how to communicate with humans. The other creatures seemed to understand that Kieran was special, that Kieran had chosen a different path than they had. They followed Kieran's example and learned to trust humans the way Kieran had learned to trust Yunji. Teo had made the Institute his home. He was no longer a salvage captain. He was the head of security, making sure the Institute was safe and protected. His crew had become permanent residents as well. They had found purpose in this work. They had found family. Curie had become the lead communications officer for the Institute. She had learned to read many of Kieran's sounds, and had begun to create a way for humans and Void Sovereigns to truly understand each other. Her translation device was not perfect, but it was the beginning of real language between species. Dr. Raoul had left his government job completely. He now worked full-time in the Institute's research division. He studied Void Sovereigns alongside Yunji. He wrote papers and gave presentations to the scientific community about what he was learning. He helped other scientists understand that these creatures were just as intelligent and valuable as any other species in the galaxy. Dr. Minho was a younger scientist who had been studying Yunji's early work. When he heard what she was doing at the institute, he asked to join her. Now he worked as her assistant, helping to document all the incredible discoveries they were making every single day. He believed in Yunji's vision completely, and he helped share her work with other scientists around the galaxy. One afternoon, a human family came to visit the institute. There was a mother, a father, and a young child who was only 8 years old. The child's name was Sujin, and they had come from a human colony far away. They had watched the broadcasts of Yunji and Kiran when they were younger, and they had always wanted to see the creature with their own eyes. Yunji was working late in her laboratory when Tayo brought the family down to see Kiran. The creature was resting in its favorite cave, the same cave where Yunji had first found it, hurt and alone. The child, Sujin, was very afraid at first. The Void Sovereign was so big, it had so many teeth. Its claws were so sharp. But Yunji sat down beside Kiran and showed the child what to do. "Do not be afraid," Yunji said. "Kiran is a friend." Sujin walked closer very slowly. The yellow eyes of the Void Sovereign opened and looked at the small human. Kiran made a soft sound, not loud and scary like before, but gentle and friendly. The creature slowly raised one large hand and held it out to the child, not to hurt, but to let Sujin touch it. Sujin reached out with tiny fingers and touched the creature's scaled hand. The child's face filled with wonder and joy. Tears came to the child's eyes, happy tears. Sujin turned to look at Yunji and asked, "Is Kiran really a monster?" "No," Yunji said, smiling. "Kiran is family." That night, after the family had left, Yunji sat in her laboratory working on her research. Kiran came in through the cave entrance as the creature did almost every evening. The Void Sovereign had learned that Yunji often forgot to eat when she was working hard. So Kiran had begun to bring her food from the Institute's kitchens. The creature set down fresh meat and fruit on Yunji's desk, making a soft sound that seemed to mean, "Eat now." Yunji laughed and hugged the creature's large arm. "Thank you, Kiran, I will eat." She thought about how different her life had become. 3 years ago, she was alone on a moon with no visitors and no future. She was a scientist studying simple organisms. Now she was leading one of the most important scientific endeavors in the history of the galaxy. She was proving that understanding was possible between any beings, no matter how different they were. But more than that, she had found family. She had found family in Tayo, who had come looking for her and stayed to protect something beautiful. She had found family in Curie and Dr. Raoul and Dr. Minho, all the people who believed in her vision. She had found family in Kiran, this creature that everyone had called a monster, but that had shown her what real love meant. Through the laboratory window, Yunji could see ships arriving from different worlds. Scientists and explorers and curious beings from across the galaxy were coming to the Institute to learn. They were coming to study. They were coming to understand. The walls between species were breaking down, one relationship at a time. Kiran settled down beside Yunji's desk, its massive body coiling into a comfortable position. The creature made soft, contented sounds. The Void Sovereign rested its head near Yunji, watching her work. Outside, the stars were beginning to come out. The same stars that had watched Yunji find a hurt creature in a cave and choose compassion instead of fear. The same stars that had watched a whole galaxy learn that the most dangerous creature in the universe could also be the most loving. Yunji looked at Kiran and said, "We did it, didn't we? We really did change everything." Kiran made a sound that Curie's translation device interpreted as, "No, you changed everything. I just loved you back." Yunji put her hand on the creature's scaled head. She thought about the child Sujin, who would grow up in a galaxy where Void Sovereigns were not monsters but family. She thought about all the children who would never have to fear these creatures the way she had feared them at first. She thought about a future where different species could live together, could learn from each other, could love each other. And she knew that it had all started with one simple choice. The choice to feed a hungry creature instead of running away. The choice to see past fear. The choice to believe that compassion was stronger than anything else in the universe. The galaxy's most feared apex predator rested its head on Yunji's desk and closed its yellow eyes. It was not afraid anymore. It was not alone anymore. It was exactly where it belonged, beside the person who had saved its life, and in doing so, had saved millions of lives across the stars. The beginning of understanding had been small. It had been quiet. It had been one human and one creature sitting together in the dark. But from that small beginning, everything had changed. The whole galaxy had learned to see with new eyes. And that was the greatest victory of all.